Right, so I've pretty much replaced a defective Smith& Lock security door chain 86mm polished chrome with a sterling heavy duty door chain that's about 40 by 30mm. So obviously you're going to have a misalignment in them holes, okay? But not to worry. I have got a ready to use wood filler which can be used to fill holes and small fissures. And when filling up the holes and small fissures, it's got excellent adherence, can be drilled and screwed, and it's also easy to paint on, dye, varnish, and wax. It pretty much says that in terms of the substrate application, it must be in compliance with building trade standards. The substrate must be hard, cohesive, clean, sound, and dry. For any wooden substrate, or wood variety, which includes your exotic wood, chipboard, wood panels, and plywood, okay? And for the overcoat, it works for any type of paints, varnishes, and wood stains, okay? So I've pretty much got me scraper or trowel, or some what you'd call your potty knife. So I'll get some of the wood filler onto the scraper, okay? And then make the application onto the undesired hole, so at a 45-degree angle. So I've got the filler onto the scraper, and I just sort of like blend it through so that it covers the holes, okay? You don't need too much, just press it down so that it fills in the hole at first, then you're smoothing it over, yeah? Okay. And once I'm pretty sure that I've got like the filler into them holes that I do not want to be evident, I get the excess off, I only need a thin film over it, so that the sanding process is a lot quicker. So from here onwards, I will let the filler dry for about 12 to 24 hours before I start to sand and paint over, okay? And pretty much, as with any sanding job, wearing the appropriate dust mask is absolutely pertinent or crucial, because you don't want to be inhaling any carcinogens or any pollens that are airborne that could be carcinogenic, okay? Everyone's metabolism, is different. And also, as with any, painting job, prepping, your area is absolutely important, especially as you do not want an overspray of paint, on the areas where you do not want paint to get on. So use a masking tape, and prep, the area, like I've just done here, and prep over other areas as necessary, like your door handle and whatnot. Okay. So pretty much the next step of the process would be to sandpaper over the wood filler, okay, the dried up wood filler, and so that it's pretty much flush with the door. I have also applied the wood filler, onto a room shelf, so I'd be sandpapering over that too as well. So the idea is to smooth in, or to sandpaper the wood filler, flush with the door, so that you do not have any contours or unevenness, but rather, smooth uniformity. So here I'd be using the 180 grit sandpaper to give it a smooth finish. So again, always make sure that you wear, a face mask or a dust mask whenever you're sandpapering. You don't want to develop, respiratory issues or, have carcinogens, in your system. So just do the needful, take precautionary measures, So here I'm pretty much checking for uniformity in them two holes, trying to make sure that it's flush and it's smooth. And I will repeat the process, subsequently for the room shelf here. So I've applied some wood filler. When I was drilling through, the head of the drill sort of like, caved into the wood, and, because I held it in an awkward angle. So I applied the wood filler, and, I'm sandpapering with the 180 grit sandpaper to make sure that it's smooth as well. But you can see that when I applied the wood filler, I used masking tape because I didn't want the filler, on every other path, okay? So pretty much the masking tape prevents the wood filler from being applied onto other parts, okay, of the shelf, especially in areas that I do not want to paint over. So from here onwards, I'm just pretty much taking off the masking tape, and you can see that, the application of the filler has been restricted to a certain area, as opposed to just, being spread all over the shelf. So again, I'm repeating the process, checking it for smoothness, for uniformity, ensuring there are no bumps so I can paint over. So here, I've used like a microfiber cloth, to clean both the door and the shelf, and subsequently use, a rag to dry it off before I paint over. So I will be painting over, the wood and the shelf with a satin finish white paint. A 1 litre can should be more than enough. So I pop it open with a screwdriver to access and visually inspect, the paint mixture. And you can see, because the paint, has sat, unused for some time, you've got a bit of creamy there, on the surface with the white. Not to worry. I will work that through with the mixer. The paintbrush is Hamilton, they're pretty smooth, decent. It's got a lovely feel to it and a nice stroke when you're painting with it. Just find that you spend more time washing it with methyl spirit or soapy water as opposed to them conventional ones. Okay, but it's not a problem. So I get a clean stick, to mix the paint, just to get the white going. You can use like a metal mixer. I've got a metal mixer, but this just about does the job too as well. Can't be bothered, setting up a drill with the mixing painter paddle. But just make sure that if you're using a stick, the stick is not adding contaminants into the paint. The stick is pretty fine by myself. Just improvised here, and you can see that the color of the paint is quite uniform now. After mixing, you don't just want to be painting over with the creamy stuff that's on top of the paint. So pretty much after wiping contaminants, off the shelf with a microfiber cloth and a rag, a dust rag, I will be painting over the shelf just in the portion where I applied the wood filler, and subsequently, and painting the dots as well, them holes. In this instance, I've pretty much used the masking tape as a guide for the filler as opposed to a guide for the paint. So I've slightly painted over the area or the no zone areas, so I will just be using like a rag here to clean over them areas and just make sure that, the area that I'm painting over is kind of like restricted to where I applied the filler. I'll pretty much replicate the process, for the door, but in this instance, I'm gonna paint the whole door. The paint matches, but I just wanted to give the door a facelift, so I will be painting the whole door, masking the whole bit here. Pretty much after painting over them holes where I've got the fillers applied. Another instance where you might want to paint the whole door is if you've got, a mismatch of color. In this instance, I do not have a mismatch of color, but I just wanted to give the door, a facelift. And so now that I have changed course and I've, pretty much made up my mind to paint the whole door as opposed to just painting over them holes, I will be masking, the whole door. The prep or the preparation is very important before you do or you carry out any paint job. And as you can see, I've pretty much kind of like worked out or mapped out where I do not want paint, to go over. So as you can see, the masking tape has been masked, over certain areas, okay? And this would prevent the paint brush from, painting over them areas. And I've also, applied that, on the external part of the door on the exterior, and you can see here. Again, pretty much repeat the process. Wipe it off with a microfiber cloth and the dust rag, and you can paint over. So I'm painting the exterior. Pretty much giving it the facelift it deserves right before winter. As you can see, masking, the external part is important because I do not want paint, getting on the bricks and whatnot. Okay. And I've gone a step further. I've changed course again, and I want to paint, over the wall with a different paint. This is not the wood paint. This is actually a wall paint. But as you can see, the prep work is important again. Masking off areas that you do not want the paint to, to roll over or to brush over is important. And that's because sometimes, although you're using the white paint, the same mixture that you've got from a decorating center, if the paint has been there for quite some time, it may not match, so you just want to restrict. So I'm kind of like restricting the areas, and so if I paint, them four corners, it's pretty much confined. I wouldn't really be bothered, if there's a huge disparity between, them colors on the major part of the wall and, the four corners, of the door. So it pretty much gives me, room to play with and to test match the paint, okay? When it dries up to see if it matches the other part of the wall. As opposed to, there being a huge disparity between different colors on your wall, okay? So it's more like I'm testing this area, and if it works, I'm extend that, to the rest part of the wall, you know. So it comes with decorating, you know. From time to time, you may change your mind, but every time you change your mind, just make sure that you're doing the prep work and you're not just, you know, rushing through the job. Okay. And you know, I've pretty much run the wall paint twice, and I've also coated or run, you know, the wood paint, you know, about twice or thrice. You know, I'm pretty much airing it out to dry. Whenever you've got paint drying, make sure that your windows are open to allow ventilation. It's important, you know, for your breathing and, you know, to avoid respiratory problems. And so, you know, once I've allowed it to dry, you know, for some time, I pretty much take off the masking tape, but you know, at a 45-degree angle, so that I don't, you know, get chunks of paint peeling up from the other side of the wall. So it's important, you know, that you use that technique, you know, in getting off the masking tape. And as you can see, the job's pretty much done. Got the door painted, the wall painted, and you know, I don't have, you know, abnormalities or irregularities in paint matching. Okay. Holes are pretty much covered, and you cannot tell that, you know, we had previously drilled holes there. So I'll pretty much repeat the process. I'll take off the masking tape from the exterior dot frame or lining. So I'm pretty much taking off the masking tape, you know, off the dot frame, you know, pretty much, you know, when the paint is dry to touch, you know, usually about an hour after you've pretty much run the paint through. So this is, you know, I'm pretty much happy with this job. Then I'll proceed to repeat the process, you know, for the skirting boards. You know, I've pretty much, you know, done the masking for the skirting boards, clean with the cloth, you know, as before. Then I'm painting over. Okay, so like I keep saying, you know, the prep work is really important. You know, in this case, I do not want to get paint, you know, on the vinyl carpet or on the other coloured part of the wall. So white or, you know, on blue would be very conspicuous. So that's what I'm running through here. You know, just be quite definitive when you're painting. You know, just take care that you do not, you know, despite the fact that you've, you know, done the masking on certain areas, that you do not, you know, stroke your brush carelessly. You know, you still also have to apply decorum and care when you're painting through. And you can see the prep work that I've done for the other areas. Hang of it, I pretty much repeat the process for the staircase handrail. Okay, painting over the handrail now, you know. And as you can see, it doesn't matter where I go. I'll keep repeating the process. So this is skirting board that we've got in the bathroom. So I repeat the process, you know, the prep work, and then subsequently, you know, clean and paint over. Okay. You know, I've pretty much used just the masking tape, you know. You can use, you know, your cotton dust sheet, you know, you can spread that on the vinyl carpet, you know, but with painting comes skill. You know, I don't need, you know, the dust sheet here. So I've pretty much taken off the masking tape after the paint job, and you can see that, you know, the paint, you know, is just kept within the areas that I wanted to be kept within. You can see the other side of the wall as well. You know, I've painted, you know, the skirting board, and I don't have, you know, an overbrush or overspray of the paint. Okay. And you know, it's pretty much the same thing with the skirting board on the other wall. You know, the paint is been kept within the area that I wanted it to be kept within. Okay. And the paint job, you know, in my opinion, looks brilliant. So I've extended, you know, the paint job onto the window, stool, and sill. Pretty much essentially repeating the same process. This is pretty much a wood paint overcoat on the previous coat. And that's about it really. If you found the information useful, don't forget to subscribe, like and share, helps the channel grow, and hopefully catch up with you soon as I've got more upcoming videos. Goodbye.